Welcome to Northern Light Spiritual Center. We're a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. Northern Light Spiritual Center offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. We at Northern Light Spiritual Center acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded ancestral lands of the First Peoples of Seattle, the Duwamish and Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring light to their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. Please join me for our opening song in this very room. And me, I'm Reverend Amaré. I'm here with Reverend Mykal Amaré, and we have on today's call the founding minister of Northern Light Spiritual Center, Reverend Pamela Grace Beatty. So our opening song is in this very room. Please sing along at home if you'd like. Reba, who is here, is welcome to sing along. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our everything. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. For this morning's meditation, I invite everybody to kind of settle to where you are. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. And breathe in and breathe out. And once again, breathe in and breathe out. And as we breathe in and breathe out, I want to let ourselves come to a place, come to a time of just recalling when we really noticed a fragrance that just uplifted us. So maybe it was the fragrance of a pie baking in the oven, or cinnamon on cinnamon rolls. Fragrance of the salty ocean water as we walk along the beach. Maybe it's the fragrance of a freshly mown lawn. The fragrance of a rose. The fragrance of the lemon as we squeeze it open. The fragrance of an orange as we peel away the skin to reveal the fruit within. Let ourselves just sink in to the reaction, to the fragrance, whatever it is. Breathe it in. And just notice where it takes us. Perhaps as we breathe in that fragrance, we become aware of ourselves in a different time and different space. Allow ourselves to open to a fuller sensory experience. So perhaps if we're noticing the smell of freshly mown grass, we feel ourselves walking in that field or that lawn. If it's that cinnamon roll, that sensation on our tongue, on our lips, on our mouth as we eat the cinnamon roll. If it's a rose, can we reach out to that rose and feel the soft petals? If it's the smell of the ocean, can we feel the sand beneath our feet or the rocky shore? Can we feel our feet in the water? If it's that lemon that we've squeezed, can we taste that lemon? Can we feel that sour in our mouth? Maybe we're going to add it to tea or a lemonade. Can we let ourselves feel the anticipation of that tanginess? Let ourselves sink into the spots in our body that these fragrances generate. Just allow ourselves to be present to our bodies, to that sensation in our bodies. Perhaps we're reminded of a time of getting a massage and feeling ourselves having our muscles pushed on and worked through so that stressors that have fallen on us are able to be released. Maybe if we're walking on the lawn or walking up by the shore, we can feel our muscles stretch in our legs and our arms. Let us bring ourselves and this attention on our bodies forward into the spaces where we are now. Knowing that wherever we are, that we always have access to a broader experience. So become aware of our bodies in space right here and right now. Maybe tighten our fingers and tighten our toes, and then release it. And as we're ready, come back to this room. And so it is. screening. So, you may have heard of Miguel Ruiz in his 4 agreements. Don Miguel Ruiz joined with his son and with another person, Janet Mills, and they wrote the 5th agreement. The 5th agreement. The 5th agreement is to be skeptical and learn to listen. Because most of what we hear isn't true. We know that humans speak with symbols, and that symbols are only the truth because we agree, not because it's really the truth. So when I say sunshine, we can all picture sunshine, but that's the word sunshine. It isn't the actual sunshine. The second half of the agreement is learn to listen, and the reason is simple. When we learn to listen, we understand the meaning of the symbols that people are using. We understand their story, and the communication improves a lot. Once we realize that hardly anything we know through symbols is true, then be skeptical has a much bigger meaning. Be skeptical is masterful because it uses the power of doubt to discern truth. Whenever we hear a message from ourselves, artists, simply ask, is it true? Is it the truth, or is it not truth? Is it reality, or is it virtual reality? The doubt takes us behind the symbols and makes us responsible for every message we deliver and receive. Why invest our faith in any message that is not true? By being skeptical, we don't believe every message. We don't put our faith in symbols. And when our faith is not in symbols, our faith is in ourselves. To have faith is to believe without a doubt. And to doubt is to be skeptical. Don't believe all the stories that we artists create with our knowledge. We know that most of our knowledge isn't true. So don't believe me. Don't believe ourselves. And don't believe anybody else. The truth doesn't need us to believe it. The truth simply is. And it survives whether we believe it or not. Lies need us to believe them. If we don't believe lies, they don't survive our skepticism, and they simply disappear. Skepticism does not mean we believe everything we hear, and we don't believe because it's not the truth. The way to be skeptical is just to be aware that the entire humanity believes in lies. We know that humans distort the truth because we are dreaming, and our dream is a reflection of truth. Every artist distorts the truth, but we don't need to judge what somebody says or call that person a liar. All of us tell lies one way or another. It's not because we want to lie, it's because of what we believe. It's because of the symbols we've learned and the way we apply these symbols. Once we're aware of this, the 5th agreement makes a lot of sense, and it can take us a very big difference in our lives. And so it is. Now it's time for this month's chant. And I believe most people got the words to it. No. Oh. I misapprehended.
You spoke, yes.
I misspoke.
That was my... I just remembered I didn't send it out. I don't think I sent it out. There. But it's on screen.
So now it's on screen. You could hear it. So following my typical procedure, first verse is me, my, I. Second verse is you, yours. Third verse is we, ours, my, ours. So much can trigger my fear. So much can fill me with rage. So much I don't want to hear. I need all my power to say. I call on my faith within, the source of all creation, the presence of good unseen, connection of every relation. I believe. can trigger my fear. So much can fill me with rage. So much I don't want to hear. I need all my power to stay. I call on my faith with you, the source of all creation, the presence of good unseen, connection of every relation. I believe so much can trigger your fear. So can fill you with rage. So much you don't want to hear. All you need, all your power to say. You call on your faith
Well, good morning. In this smoky-filled day, week, whatever we've had. Today's topic is skepticism, doubt, and faith. And all my life, I believe I have been told, and I believe that I'm very skeptical. And I realize it's true. I am. I have been. And I always thought that was a negative way of being until, more recently. And it's not. That's just like there's a lot of things that we think or we've been led to believe are negative. Like I always thought power, the word power was a negative thing because people in power, they were power over you. When in essence, that's not true. There may be some people that you may feel are power, but however, we each have that power within us. And so being skeptical is not a negative way of being. So skepticism, attitude, doubt as to the truth of something. All of us, I'm quite sure, I could probably say all of us have been a little skeptical at times of our lives. Maybe even a little skeptical at this moment, And it's the idea of of being curious yet careful. And I like that definition of being curious. Because if we just took everything at face value, I think life would be boring too. There's so many would make life more boring than it is at times now. Just to have that sense of curiousness, but not to jump right in when somebody says, "Okay, you've got to buy this." For instance, the other day, I've been getting this repeated phone call and message. I don't answer my phone unless I know who it is. So I listened to the message several times, so I thought, well, I'll call and give him a chance. And it was about getting our direct TV for 50% off, I said, well, that's a great deal, and it is. That's a really good deal. Plus, you would get all these other benefits. However, as I'm listening, the one time I hung up because I thought it was kind of iffy. So I was talking to Reverend Vaughn about it, and he thought, well, it sounds like a good deal. So I called back, and I talked some more, and this whole setup was a little bit different, so I knew something was hokey. And finally it's well, you have to in order to get this, there is a catch. You have to go buy this eBay gift card like at one of the stores around and get it for $300, and then call this number and give them the name. Okay, that's a little too hinky. So I let them finish, and I hung up, and that was that. I never did pursue, but I did report it. But then, in a sense like that, it is good to be skeptical, because so many times, there's times when people are not their best. I'll just put it that way, and take advantage of other people that are, that will. I almost jumped in there. I was, but no. So being skeptical in that case was really good. And like a healthy dose of questioning, I like to to use the word questioning when I think about being skeptical, because it is, you're inquiring, you're questioning, what's with this, is a great tool for developing understanding of what we believe and know. When we think we know it all, or are not willing to question what we believe, or are not willing to ask what it means when someone feels their prayers have not been answered, we are no longer in alignment with our being open at the top. The idea of being open at the top to question, to inquire, to dig deeper. That's all, I think, great words to use, to dig deeper. And question what's going on, and question, I question what I believe sometimes. A great example of that was going through, it was ministerial school at the time. Maybe not native practitioner. Anyway, I was working at Boeing of Everett, and this guy I worked with, and he's very Christian, and so we're discussing, and I was kind of alluding this and that, and finally, after he asked me certain things, it made me stop and ask myself, really, what do I believe? And I think that was one of the first times that I actually went deep and went to see, and actually, what do I believe? And it's amazing. I think it's a great thing for all of us to ask ourselves, and not just in your spiritual adventure, but in almost in everything in your life. What do I believe? There's a good one there. Politics. What do I really believe about that? And different things, because that way, when we get in touch with that, then we get to the truth of the matter for us. Your truth may not be the same as mine, and mine not the same as yours. So that's why it's an individual thing, and it's a great practice to do. And also, a healthy dose of imagination is a powerful tool for expanding our horizon. So in this skepticism, we can also use our imagination. Imagination is such a wonderful thing. I mean, it can take us to places we've only dreamt of, or we never thought we would go. I mean, it's just like you can imagine yourself. I've always wanted to fly. I said, if there was one thing in life that I could do as a human being that I, can't do now, it's kind of hard, that would be to fly. Because I've had a lot of flying dreams, and just that freedom. As you watch a butterfly, just kind of flitter through the flowers, or you see a bee or the birds. I mean, to me that would be the epitome of grace and ease and freedom. So imagination can work, wonders in our lives. Now, skepticism, or we can also call it sometimes self-doubt, can be, I hate to call it that, but like a weakness. And that's only because it can stop us from doing our work. Skepticism, when we get self-doubt, we can say, okay, we doubt ourselves, so we stop. We don't go any further. And how can we move forward in life if every time we get somewhere we get skeptical and we just stop and freeze in our tracks? So the idea, if you doubt yourself, that means you're someone who holds onto a high standard. And a lot of times I hold people to very high, it's not standards.
Expectations.
Expectations, thank you everyone. Because I hold myself to high expectations. And when I don't meet them, then I beat myself up. Or I stop, I freeze. And so, and who has a sense of humility or a sense of own limitations, who is vulnerable and open up to the world. These are good things, to be vulnerable know our own limitations, but not be stopped by them. So skeptic self-doubt is good to a degree, but we should not get marred down in that and criticize, beat ourselves up, and say, no, I can't do that. Just because, and that's where failure comes in too. Or failure can be good. Failure can be excellent, because sometimes you'll fail at something, but that'll force you into moving into something else, which may be and probably is your greater good. And something that you, say for instance, a job or employment or a way of income, you may, you may not, you really want this job. Oh, I want this job, I want this job. And maybe a lot of times, I know there's one person that would say, you got the job, I don't want the job. After you've been there a while, I really don't want this job. So you can move on. And so and that's not really a failure, because you actually went and you tried it, and it was not for you. Just like a lot of times in prayers, you think you're seeking something, and once you get it, it's like, oh, this isn't really what I wanted. And so you can start all over again. Once you get something, doesn't mean you have to keep it. And faith, this part of it is, faith is built on from belief, acceptance, and trust. Whenever skepticism enters our thoughts, it destroys that faith. Since every thought is a prayer, we have to carefully monitor our thoughts so that our faith is not compromised. We must continually feed our faith by supporting input. So that's what I have to say about skepticism. You can be skeptical on that, but So now doubt. Whenever I hear the word doubt, I always think of doubting Thomas. Which I was listening to something on the internet about doubt the other day, and it was, doubting Thomas. He was questioning. He needed to see the proof. And that's what we need sometimes. We need to see the proof. Sometimes when we doubt, we feel guilty, especially when it comes to our religion or our faith. If we doubt something, then you're bad. I remember I grew up in the Lutheran church. I went to Lutheran school for 8 years, and I always thought, all they're talking about, being this great religion and all that, and maybe, I don't know if they've ever said it, but I've heard other religions say that they're the one true religion, which I don't buy. But anyway, I thought, I used to think, well, what about all these, other religions? Like we had a different Lutheran church over there, and we had the Catholic church, we had a Methodist church, and all this, and well, how come, if we're the one true faith or religion, then what about all these other things? But I never questioned it out loud. I think there was a bit of a fear there. My first partner did. He would tell me stories about going to Sunday school and asking all these questions, and they couldn't answer them for him. So then he finally, it finally quit going. And if you don't get answers of some sort, or you are going to quit, or you're going to seek the answers elsewhere. But a lot of times when we have these questions about our faith, we feel guilty about it. Or I should say, I guess I feel guilty about it. Because I should be, as a minister now, you're supposed to be all this and that. And sometimes, we are human, and we have all the human frailties of everybody else. Doubt also seems to make us feel uncomfortable. When we doubt ourselves a lot. That's like, the same thing as being skeptical, but doubt is, I think, a little heavier in that, because we don't think we feel too limited, or the lack of, we don't have that, all that education that, somebody else has, and we don't have the money, we don't have this, we don't have that, so I'm not that great of a human being. Like if you're a parent and finances and stuff, and okay, I can't support my children the way I really want to, and we doubt ourselves, we doubt who we are, and that is not, I'm sorry, that is not good. When we doubt who we are, that's where again we need to go deep within and ask ourselves, who am I? And that idea of what do I believe? And I think all of these skepticism, doubt, and faith, one of the best things is going deep. Asking yourself, being quiet with yourself, and asking yourself, who am I? And all these different questions to get rid of that doubt, get rid of that fear, because fear is in all of this. And in the Science of Mind, it says, there is no room for doubt in treatment. Realize that you treat with your understanding through the law. Meditate upon the spiritual significance of the statements you make until you induce with consciousness a definite concept of an already established fact, even though the fact may not have become objectified. Because when we treat, you have to stand firmly in the belief of what you're treating for. Otherwise, if the doubt comes in and all that, then it's not going to work. And a lot of times, you have to treat multiple times for things. And each time you can do the same treatment, but it's going to be different, and you're going to be different because you're going deeper into that belief, that you believe that this is so, that you know that this is so, instead of hoping, wishing, like, oh, I hope you get this, or I wish you would get this, That's not a strong belief in it. And doubt allows us to have faith by asking questions. And by asking questions, it allows us to go deeper within ourselves. We learn more about ourselves, and we learn more about others. I love the one part we learn more about ourselves because, remember, in Prac 1, we had to do a meditation. I've said this before, and it still sticks with me. Like a 5 journal about this was about our childhood. I thought, oh, I could do that at work at lunchtime, and I did. Wrong. It was one of the most powerful and emotional things I think I've ever done. Because that's the great thing about journaling after you've done a contemplation or meditation, is if you allow yourself to be free, allow the pen or keyboard, whatever you're using, to be free, without criticism or judgment, what comes out is astounding. What came out was so emotional for me, it had me in tears. And I told people, don't ever do anything like that while you're at work, because you can become a basket case if you don't watch out. And that necessarily doesn't go over too well at work sometimes. So by going in, we learn more about ourselves, which is a good thing. Even if there are some things within us that we don't like, by learning more about ourselves, we can work on changing that if we want to. That we don't have to. We have a certain behavior. We don't have to have that behavior anymore. And so, and we can learn more about others too by asking these questions, you know, because sometimes that's what practitioners do when you're in a session. When you're in a situation, you come to them, they inquire, they ask questions, you know, and they try to get to the root of what's behind what's going on, and so that you can move into treatment and change that. And now, faith is faith. They say it's a believing in something without facts, which is true. I mean, there's blind faith, and then there's I don't want to say stupid faith. If you always believe everything everybody tells you, then you become gullible, and sometimes that can be bad. And faith is also a complete trust or confidence in something or someone. You know, like a parent will say, I have complete faith in my child, which is, I think, it's an awesome thing. Over the years, I tried to think of the times when I questioned my faith. And growing up as a Lutheran, I never really questioned a lot about it, except, you know, if we're the one true, then why are all these other religions around? But I didn't question what I believed, and I always said that I would never change my religion unless there was something that I believed in more, because I know a lot of people growing up, like if one person was a Catholic, one was a Lutheran, when they were getting married, one would change for the other. And I can see changing if you believe in that, but I cannot see changing, this is my opinion only, changing just for change. And that's why when I was introduced to religious science, it was like, oh, you know, and so many things were answered, and I still have questions. And I hope I always have questions. And I hope I do dig deeper into my faith. And, you know, over the time, you know, I've always believed and had faith that there is a higher presence. And over the years, this higher presence, I think, has changed, has grown, has expanded. It is not just that one singular man with a white beard on a cloud. You know, I don't know if I really ever believed that. Maybe as a young child I did, but it has expanded, and it should expand. And that's what Ernest Holmes, I think, means by open at the top. Your ideas expand, and a lot of times certain ministers or people in religious science will say, well, Ernest Holmes wrote this and that's that. Well, that may be. However, he did say to stay open at the top. And that means sometimes things do change. And so by doing that, you know, we can expand and be expanded. Otherwise, you know, and the idea of what do I believe? And the idea too, and there's another part to that question, is not only what do I believe, but why do I believe it? Do I believe it because my family has always believed this? Like a lot of times, well, Republican or Democrat, am I this one because they're always that? Or is it something I believe, you know? And I think we each should do that. We should question again, you know, why am I believing this? Why is this important to me? I think that why is a great question. And also, do I believe this because I have been persuaded or forced to? I mean, sometimes if you're working for a certain establishment, you have to abide by their rules, and sometimes certain things they require you to almost believe. And I personally, I can't do that. So that's, those are questions that we can ask ourselves. What do I believe, and do I believe it because or why do I believe this? I mean, that's a simple question. And we make our own faith. And I thought about that, and it's like, we make our own faith, especially when we use treatment, in religious science. Each manifestation, each thing builds on the previous thing, and that's our, like the first time you ever did a treatment in like in foundations, which is the well, it used to be the first class in religious science, and you had to practice treatment, and the first time you actually manifested something, no matter how little it was, it's like, whoa, really? And that one little thing, and then you keep going, rebuilding. It's like these building blocks. You want another, and so that is very powerful, and that's how we build our faith. Our faith, basically, in ourselves and in our practice of what we're doing. It's that, and Ernest Holmes said that when prayer removes distrust and doubt and enters the field of mental certainty, it becomes faith. When prayer removes distrust and doubt and enters the field of mental certainty, it becomes faith. And that's where you build your faith, you grow your faith, you expand your faith. Because I think it's in Hebrews. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, and for the conviction of things not seen. Sometimes we just have to, I don't know, growing up, I knew that there's a lot of people that, excuse me, had faith that things would change. I believe my mother always had faith that my stepfather would change. We can have that faith, yet not be, blinded by it sometimes, but sometimes that knowing and having this faith that things will change and things will get better gets people by. It helps them move through life in a maybe an easier, softer way. However, Ernest Holmes also said, without faith it is impossible for one to do their best or get the most out of life. This does not mean faith in personality only, but faith in the ocean of life itself. It can be a very vast, like I love that, the ocean of life, because there's, if you think about it, there's such a great expanse to our life, and it can go so deep, especially if we're willing to go deep and do the work. And in the song, if you could understand the words a lot, it said you have to believe in yourself, and to me that's, you have to have faith in yourself. That's one reason I picked this song, is because it was talking about you need to do this, and you have to have faith in yourself, faith in your ability, faith that you are capable of anything, that you can achieve any dream, that you will succeed, that you can live out your dreams, and to have to believe in yourself, to achieve, you must believe. Having that, skepticism and doubt are fine. There's nothing negative. Actually, skepticism and doubt, I think, are like fear. They have their purpose. Fear, you're going to look, when you cross the street, so there's not a car or bus coming, because if there is, you may not make it. So you have this fear, and you look. So when you But you don't get bogged down or marred down with the fear, with the skepticism, with the doubt. And that to me is where you go in and you go deep and you ask yourself these questions. Inquire. Inquiring minds want to know. I think that was isn't that the theme of the Inquirer? And like in the Matrix, Morpheus asked, Morpheus, he actually, which pill he wants. Well, we'll take you down the rabbit hole. And going down the rabbit hole, you go deeper and deeper, and you don't know where it's going to end. And that's just like with the doubt and the skepticism, and having your faith and asking and questioning it and asking yourself, okay, what do I believe, and why? And so I invite you this week and beyond, if you choose, to write down your this way it'll continually, feed your faith. And if you have a journal, you can just put it right in your journal. And just no matter how small, because there is nothing small in God. There's nothing small, nothing lacking in the divine. You just do it. And so with that, I want to close something somebody posted on Facebook, which to me it's very emotional. But it's at this very moment, this last week in our area, it's been very, very true. And it says, I have to stop for a minute. Do not forget that the ashes falling from the sky are all that remains of the pine and the grass and the thistle and bear and the coyote and deer and a mouse that cannot escape. Take it to your altar. Scoop some of sacred manner. Take it to your altar. Offer prayers for these beings. Honor their death. Pray for life. Call in rain. Remind fire that it is full, that it has gobbled enough and can rest now. May all beings be safe. May all beings be loved. May all beings be remembered. May all beings be mourned. And so I know that in this time of burning up and down the West Coast mostly, I pray for the safety, not only the safety and the health of everyone in these areas, knowing that each one can move through this and come through the other side. That the Rains and the firefighters who fight diligently to put out these fires, that they are cared for, and that they all are held in the arms of Spirit, cradled in the arms of love and safety. And so I give thanks for this time and I know that all was well. And so it is. And I want to thank everyone who joined today on Zoom, or on Facebook, or in person. We will be here next week, and Reverend Pamela Beatty will be speaking. She speaks on the third Sunday of every month. And so if you'd like to donate, it's you can go to our website, northernlightspiritualcenter.com, and hit the donate button. And the donations that come in, keep the lights on here in our space. And allows us to tithe out to where we send our tithes each quarter, so that we can help get the message out and help create a world that works for everyone. And that sometimes seems such a jargon. But I believe that is something we have to do, to create a world that works for everyone. I'd love to go into deeper, but this is not a political soapbox. And so I give thanks for all people that have ever been part of Northern Lights Spiritual Center. I give thanks for those who have not yet come, and those that have passed through. And I give thanks for every presence, every gift, whether it's financial, whether it's your personal presence, or any other thing that you have brought. For I believe and I affirm that Northern Light Spiritual Center is a safe space. Safe physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. And so I give thanks for this sacred ground. I release it.